In New Orleans, they say, where you from? That's not your zip code, that's your ancestry. I come from a family of trailblazers. My great-grandparents on my mother's side owned 717 acres in Osceola, Arkansas. Unusual for a black family in the late 1800s. They got terrorized by white jealous farmers and they fled the South along with 6 million other black Southerners and settled in the Midwest. On my father's side, my grandparents printed illegal pamphlets and documents to resist the Nazis in Copenhagen, Denmark. I grew up in a revolutionary jazz house. My uncles and aunties were people like Auntie Josephine, Auntie Eartha, Auntie Nina, Uncle Ben Webster, who gave me the nickname Little Big Mouth, Clark Terry, Ernie Wilkins, and so many more. My step-grandmother was Maddie Peters of the Peters Sisters. They called my mama Charlie Parker of the kitchen because she could improvise and throw down some barbecue ribs and some collard greens at 2 a.m. when they came home from the shows. They were eating and bopping and smacking and drinking and dancing and singing and crying. They were loud and they were proud. Writers, poets, journalists, composers. My childhood home was a safe haven for superstars, travelers, and activists. If you were fun, bright, or brilliant, you were welcome in our house. I followed in the footsteps and became a jazz singer and an activist myself. My debut album, Jazz Muffin, which is my love attack for jazz and reggae, is the reason I got invited to perform in New Orleans. I was invited for a 4th of July, a celebration for women of color in music, and I got invited back the next year, and the 3rd year I decided to stay. I fell in love with the city, like my mama fell in love with my father, but I fell in love with New Orleans, with the culture. How you doing, baby? I love the food, I love the architecture, I love the weather, I love the spirit. And now I was on my own, a free-range jazz singer. On my first gig, in the break, they came up and said, good job, and passed me a bucket. I said, thank you. What is this for? Well, that's your tip jar. You want to get paid, right? Go out and get some money. I was already adjusting to no dressing rooms, no contracts, no minimum pay, and growing up under all these divas, I was absolutely overdressed with a bucket in my hand. I don't remember what I made, but I knew that this wasn't going to cut it. I needed a second paying job. I also needed a tax return to get a green card, to get my daughter here and get her through college. Tourism is a $20 billion industry. Yay. Turns out, waiters only get paid $2.13 an hour. I'm a lousy waitress. Next, tours. Okay, tour companies don't have to pay you anything. You are 100% commission-based. So here I am in the streets, swamp tours, city tours, plantation tours. Absolutely far away from my comfort zone of workers' unions, minimum wages, and free health care. I decided to get a tour guide license because I thought that maybe touring and talking was more my jam than barking and booking. Plus, I'd heard that tour guides got paid. The big band was waiting. I was flying down Canal Street on my bicycle. Bam, I took a fall. And with little to no health care, recovery would take months. But this was a blessing in disguise. PBS became my best source of untold stories about New Orleans. And never before had I heard stories so intriguing and appalling. It turned out that this was the place that my mother had told me about. When I was just 5, she said, baby, enslaved women snapped the necks of their newborn babies to save them from slavery. And that stuck with me like beloved. Back in the visitor centers, I'm hustling tours. People are coming in, booking. Black visitors are coming in and saying, where's our story? And I send them out on the stories available, knowing that our story was whitewashed and reduced to something like this. Being a slave in Louisiana really wasn't that bad. See, on Sundays, they would be given the day off, where they would all meet at Congo Square, sell little knickknacks, play the drums, have a great old time, and buy their freedom. A visitor, he came back furious. He said, that was insulting at best. Can't you do better? You're smart. Create something for us, our story, respectfully. Now I had gotten my tour guide license. I was already inspired, and the stories were building up. My narrative was coming together, but how? One day the phone rang, and a sweet lady from North Carolina, she said, "I'd like to book a private group tour, specifically Black Heritage." Thank you, ma'am. So I said to my boss, there was this lady who called, she needs a tour. Oh yeah, sure, and he never called her back. She kept calling, he still ignored her. The fire came out, I put my job on the line, I called her up and said, "Ma'am, I've just created my own tour company." Thank you. I said, "If you will give me the chance and the opportunity, I will promise you and your group a wonderful tour, but you can't tell the tour company, I'll get fired." She said, "Okay." I rented a bus, I dressed in white, I wrapped my hair, and I snuck out the side door of the hotel that I was working in. A colleague walked up and said, "Michaela, where are you going? What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing much." And I jumped on the tour bus, and it was full of seniors, Black seniors. I was cooking for the cooks. Welcome to New Orleans, the largest slave port, the birthplace of jazz, the birthplace of Homer Plessy, Louis Armstrong, Mahalia Jackson, the birthplace of the Buffalo Soldiers. It's the birthplace of the Freedom Riders and the masking Black Indians. And as we pulled up at Congo Square, I said, "This is where Duke Ellington started Jazz Fest." And I said, "It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing." They sang, "Do-wop, do-wop, 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 do-wop." They listened and sang, shop Black-owned businesses, and 10 years later, I'm still the only tour company that offers this on a daily basis. Thank you. I made the decision that Black-owned businesses has a place in New Orleans, and the glory of our story is important. I came to New Orleans to sing, but something much deeper was calling me. And today, moving forward, I will always look back. Thank you.